T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
After World War II, a new conflict arose known as the Cold War, during which the world's two greatest powers, the United States and the Soviet Union, were in a political standoff. The two countries had always been in a conflict, which was over the years fueled by growing threat of nuclear weapons, wide-ranging espionage, and counter-espionage between the two countries. Both countries realized how important rocket research would be to their military. In 1955, the space race began when both countries announced that they would launch satellites into orbit. Russia's first success in space technology began with their launch of Sputnik. Sputnik was the first artificial satellite the world had witnessed and the very first man-made object to be placed into the Earth's orbit. This was a very unpleasant surprise to the United States and a threat to their dominance. After that event, both countries continued sending satellites and probes to space, and each sought to prove the superiority of its science, technology, military firepower, and economic system. Soviets later sent the first man to orbit Earth, and these advancements for the Russian side meant America had to take a bigger step to overdo the competition. With that in mind, in 1961, President John F. Kennedy said the United States would by the end of the decade send man on the moon and have him back safely, and the Apollo program began with that risky mission. On July 16, 1969, with the first lunar landing attempt, an unheard-of advancement was made in history, when the Apollo 11 landed the first humans on the surface of the moon and brought them back safely. Following that, Russia had sent another lunar module to space and tried changing its course in order to have it land near the site of the Apollo and win dominance. But it crashed, and there was never a second attempt to land another, and the space race came to an end with the United States as the winners.
Today, we have someone with us who has witnessed the launch of the Apollo 11 spaceship, Miss Martha Brown. How are you feeling today, Miss Martha Brown?
Good. Happy to be here. How are you?
Very good. Now tell us a little about the event that you witnessed.
I remember July 16th, 1969. It was about 9:30 in the morning. I ran straight out of my bed to the living room to listen to the radio about the Apollo 11 launching. I remember the excitement in my dad's face. After that, I tugged at my father's pants and asked him what was going on.
The Apollo 11 spacecraft landed on the region of the moon called the Sea of Tranquility.
Okay, engine stop. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground.
Now, did your dad ever predict what kind of advancements this moon landing would bring to our country, America?
My father told me lots of things, but never in his wildest dreams did he ever think that this mission would bring such positive alterations to our country.
Astronauts Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin, and Michael Collins' part in the reaching of the moon soon made them heroes towards America. After a stormy decade, this event brought encouragement to the country, considering this happened while everything going on around them was going downhill. Soon their position in technology, science, and recognition would skyrocket.
Miss Brown, do you remember any of the major innovations that were a result of the Apollo 11 landing?
About 4 years after the mission, my father brought in this brick-shaped item that had an antenna. And I've heard about these cell phones on the radio before, but I never thought I would ever have one of my own in my household.
Interesting. You think that was a breakthrough that came from the mission of Apollo 11?
Yeah, without a doubt, there were many inventions that were a breakthrough from that mission.
The system of the rocket had to be manually realigned during the flight, but computers were, before this time, the size of a whole room. However, with the new system of the Apollo 11, the integrated circuit was made. NASA ordered 1 million and packed it into the spacecraft, and today these are the main tools for functioning phones, computers, and just about every technological device we have. New inventions were brought in order to have the perfect landing that we use today for our safety, medical use, and entertainment. One of the inventions that came from the Apollo 11 mission was the CAT scanner. This technology was first used to find imperfection in space components, but today is used to detect cancer and other illnesses. Also, another invention is a smoke detector. NASA invented the first adjustable smoke detector with sensitivity levels to prevent false alarms in the spacecraft, and now the same invention is found in every household for safety reasons. Other innovations were the satellite television, installation, joystick, and memory foam mattresses.
You were pretty young at the time that all this took place, but do you remember any significant changes in the way people thought and their personalities?
Well, you have to keep in mind this wasn't too long ago. And I remember during the Cold War, my father would sit me down and tell me about what was happening. And July 16 was the first time that something exciting was happening in the country. And people were pretty happy about it because after almost a decade of destruction and sadness, people took it really well.
The news that 3 astronauts had done the once unthinkable of traveling to the unknown world of space, walked on the moon, and returned safely sparked feelings of national pride and accomplishment amongst Americans. The nation was becoming divided over all the conflicts early before, with the escalation of the Vietnam War, the Cold War, racial tensions, and the troubles of the inner cities. Pride was a big addition that came with the moon landing in 1969. The first Earth Day took place in April 1970, a day dedicated to caring for the environmental conditions of our planet. Like this young lady over here.
Miss Martha Brown, it has now almost been 46 years since the Apollo 11 has landed on the moon. In your opinion, was this the greatest event that has occurred in the last century for America?
I remember after the moon landing, every radio channel was talking about it for a few months. This landing was a huge deal for our country. However, a century is a long time, and a lot has followed the Apollo 11. But one thing for sure is the mission of 1969 sparked a world of scientific discoveries and advances to come. It brought us the Mars rover and discoveries of planets and space overall.
Very interesting.
An estimated 600 million people witnessed it on live television and radio. This event in history brought citizens together and was an inspiration to many, believing that if men could walk on the moon, then anything would be possible to achieve.
Since 1969, scientists have gone through with the invention of the Mars rover, X-ray satellites, atmospheric and solar probes, and orbiters.
Also, other technological devices have been made that took pictures of the surface of many other planets and brought all types of discoveries to us.
The event of the moon landing in 1969 changed the perspective of the whole world. Since then, many new scientific advancements have been made.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.